أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Our topic is the zikr of Allah, the Tassawuf. The basis of the Tassawuf is the zikr of Allah. And why do we do zikr of Allah? What do we achieve from the zikr of Allah? We need to look at, first of all, our purpose. Our purpose, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, as human beings, is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. What kind of worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wanting from us? Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanting us to do worship in a certain state of mind? Or in a certain purity? And where does that purity come from? And we need to look at that. Because every section of the worship is mentioned again and again in the Quran and Hadith back that is to do with intention. Well, pretty much all of Islam is with intention. So where does the intention fall? Because this is the area that needs to be purified in order to have a pure intention. And if you look at our body, and with reference to Hadith Pak and Quran Majid, we see that the intention forms from the heart. So the purity must come from the heart. And then the question comes, how do we purify it? Because once it's purified, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that successful are those people قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. Successful are those people who have purified themselves. So when you purify the heart, your intention becomes pure, your worship becomes pure, your conversation becomes pure, and what you see becomes in line with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commandments and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's obedience. And what you hear is also it comes in line with it as well. And the question is, how do we purify our heart? The greatest thing to use to purify our heart is the zikr of Allah. Constant zikr of Allah, where the heart is occupied in the zikr of Allah day and night, whilst we're eating, whilst we're sleeping, whilst we're sitting, whilst we're standing. This is the state when the heart is occupied in the zikr, and there's nothing else that it does but zikr of Allah constantly. When it's purified in that state, then it becomes closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we pray, read namaz with ihsan. And when we leave this dunya, because the zikr is now connected to our soul. So it begins with body, and then body transfer the zikr to our soul. And as we know, the soul never dies. The body dies, and the soul never dies. So when we die, we continue in the state of zikr. But that is only if the zikr is done from the heart. There are many people who do zikr just from the tongue. But the danger with that is that it's not synchronized with the heart. It doesn't change our behavior, it doesn't change our conduct, our akhlaq, it doesn't change anything. It's just like an example of a person who's trained his parrot to say Allah, Allah constantly, which the parrot continued doing it. What happened one day, was as the owner of the parrot was away, a cat appeared and attacked the parrot. Whilst in a state of panic, the parrot stopped saying Allah, Allah. Instead, it started making weird noise. Whilst all this was happening, the owner of the parrot appeared, and he noticed that the parrot had stopped saying Allah, Allah, and he was confused. In his mind, he thought that the parrot would say Allah, Allah in every occasion. So he went out to find out why this hasn't happened, and he discovered that the parrot was only saying it from his tongue. It wasn't synchronized. It wasn't connected to his heart. What was in his heart was what he said at the time of when he was panicking. And this is the state we could get into if the zikr of Allah is not connected to our heart. And the reward for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the reward for zikr is immense. And Allah tells us to do His zikr. Fazkuruni azkurkum. You remember me, and I will remember you. Inshallah, we'll continue this conversation from next time. Jazakallah khair for listening.